Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic show. It is 11:21. So yeah, I hope everyone's doing good. It is Tuesday morning. Pretty nice day here in lovely Mid Coast, Maine. So yeah, I did a big show yesterday about my whole kind of wacky journey on finally acquiring tickets to go see my favorite band of all time, and that is Altecker. So that was it was such a journey, and for what it was, for what it's worth, a lot of emotions were felt and experienced. But I was again my favorite band of all time, and they just rule, and they are not like when I say band, like I used to say when I would talk about Altecker, I would say my favorite like electronic band. I used to always use that when I would describe that situation. But it's evolved so much for me where I mean they are electronic music, but I look at them as just being my favorite band when it comes down to it. It's not in your traditional sense, where there's a lead singer, guitar player, bass player, drummer, kind of a thing, or horns or what have you. It's all digital music. It's all pure electronic music, but they have so much depth to their sound and richness, and they kind of reinvent themselves all the time. And I just so now I don't even use that label. I just call them a band, even though they don't fit in that kind of box at all. So yeah, check out that video. I just uploaded it yesterday, and that was quite an experience. And then finally, a lot of stories don't have a happy ending, but I felt like that story did. So that's pretty much it. And again, it's so hard to pick favorites or what. It's a lot easier for me when I can think of, say, my top 20. Or, when it comes to films, it's pretty easy to pick your top 20 or top 30, and that's a thing you see a lot on YouTube. People will do that, and then also with music, their top 20 albums of, say, 2024, their top bands, you know uh, their top 10 list, those kinds of things. That's pretty commonplace for me. It's like I like so much different stuff that it's hard for me to kind of like pinpoint. I grew up listening mostly to metal, and you know th- at first it was Kiss, then I got into like Metallica and thrash metal, and then discovering Slayer, which was a big huge point for me because that was my gateway into like more extreme music that was heavier, faster, and darker, which led me into death metal. And then from then on it went into discovering black metal. And black metal has become, you know, when it comes to, like I said before, your favorite, styles, or, your top five artists or your top five films, those kinds of things. I can do that pretty easily, for the most part. But as far as an actual like order of, I've done a couple of big shows on my top. I think it was like my top 20 horror exploitation movies, and that was hard to do. But I have a huge list, and I did a big show on that, and definitely in the top, two or three, I have a definite order. But other than that, it's pretty loose, and it can kind of change. And I kind of do that same thing with music. And then, so when I was a kid, I got into, my next, my next experience in extreme music was getting into black metal. And I can easily say, like, and I still love all of that music that I talked about, I still love old school Metallica and some newer ish stuff. I still, a Slayer fan and fan of the thrash genre, and a huge death metal fan. Morbid Angel being my favorite death metal band of all time. And it's always evolving. But when it comes to extreme music, it's always been black metal. But for me, on my daily listening habits, I mostly listen to electronic based music, and I also mainly listen to a lot of jazz, a lot of Miles Davis, and so. But I do go back to the metal music all the time, and a lot of different other, a lot of other things, a lot of classic funk music. So I'm always kind of a little bit all over the place. But those two genres, I say, I still listen to the most on a daily basis. Electronic music and also anything kind of in the jazz style. But that being said, again, going back to where I said, like Autechre is my favorite band of all time. When it comes to metal and when it comes to a band that is just really exciting and really musical and really just pushes the boundaries and isn't afraid to take chances, and when it comes to the music or the arts experience with the audience, they are not afraid to take the audience on a really adventurous journey. And so, and I think, I keep coming back to them, but Deafheaven is a band I have a deep, deep love for and appreciation for. I did a big show on Deafheaven a few days ago. They just put out a brand new album on Friday. I was intending on going to Bull Moose this past weekend to go and get it. I've been really, really looking forward to this album. And again, when I did a big show on Deafheaven, I went into, how I discovered them, and I kind of went, took a little bit of a deep dive just describing my feelings around their albums and, all those things. And being that at this point, I've been a fan of their music for, probably, 10 or 11 years. I've been following their career for quite a while now. I have not seen them in concert yet. I do want to. I had a chance to see them in concert, but then the venue was closed. It was during COVID. But they are coming back to Boston very soon. So I might do that because I did just buy tickets to see Autechre, and I did buy tickets to see, or get tickets with some friends to go see Anthony Papa, who is a legendary house music DJ. So I got some really good shows coming up that I'm really excited about. Spend a little bit of money more on the Autechre, but that show is not till October. But anyway, Deafheaven is coming back. They have a brand new album. This band is. I always talk about Autechre in terms of just how busy they are and how the body of work that they put out is just insane. And I see some parallels and some real interesting things in a common on common ground with Deafheaven because of how, as far as a rock band, these guys fucking tour like just madmen. If you check out their Facebook page or their website and you go to their touring schedule, it's like jaw dropping how much they tour and how much they play. Like I don't know how these guys do it. I mean, granted, they're all young stud muffins, but I don't know how they keep up the pace that they have because they literally tour constantly and they are literally if they're not in the States touring somewhere, they're in Europe somewhere touring and they playing festivals, what have you, but just constantly out on the road. And I don't know how they have the time and focus to put out such incredible albums while they are, just working their asses off. And obviously, then it's working for them very well because they are, a lot of bands, they do, your typical thing for a lot of bands is they put out a record, and sometimes there's like, maybe 3 or 4 years between each album. They do the standard kind of big touring cycle to promote the album, for, 4 months, 6 months, what have you, whether it's shorter or longer. And then there's like a long break, and then they kind of like recalibrate and kind of regroup. And then you don't hear from the band or about the band for a very, very long, for maybe a year or two. And they kind of go into a little bit of a hibernation period. And then you might hear ripplings of, oh, they might be playing a few shows here and there, or they are, starting to write or record some music. But there's usually always this lull after all of this, activity. But with Deafheaven, that's not true at all because they are constantly on the fucking road. Like, I don't know how they do it. And they just put out a brand new album. It came out on Friday. And I was super bummed I did not make it to Bull Moose to pick it out. The brand new album is called Lonely People with Power. It came out, today is Tuesday. It came out on Friday. I try to stay away from reviews and videos, but with this album, I kind of couldn't help myself. I checked out probably 3 or 4 reviews for this new album. And this show is going to be a little, well, obviously about my thoughts about this new record and a video and a song that I did listen to last night. I finally was like, fuck it, I'm going to just check it out because I wasn't able to get my shit together on Sunday to go to Bull Moose. Had a pretty long day the day before, and then Saturday night I had some pretty I had a pretty bad bout of insomnia and I couldn't really sleep. And then I ended up getting up super super early on Sunday, and it was a fairly busy week. So it all caught up to me on Sunday, and I was all set to go. I was feeling pretty good in the morning, and then I ended up having to do a couple things, and then before I knew it, it was like 3 o'clock, and I was cashed out at that point. So I just chilled out at home. So I didn't really go anywhere. Plus the weather was really shitty. Blah blah blah. So I didn't go, but I was like, oh fuck, I was gonna go, but I think I'm gonna try this weekend to go up and buy it because I need to get it. But because of that, I was like, I broke down, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna at least. I've heard a little bit of this album. I heard little pieces, here and there, but I purposely have been trying to stay away from listening to this album. But last night, I broke down, and I was like, okay, I got to check out at least a little bit of this album and check out at least one of these videos. So I was like, fuck it. So that's what I did. And so today's show is going to be about that initial experience on this music video and this single that they put out. I guess it was a couple of weeks ago. And it's going to be about my gut reaction. I only listened to the video or watched this video with this song one time, and I had a kind of an extraordinary experience. And I watched it, kind of on the later side. I was getting ready to kind of go to bed, and I was like, okay, I give up. I gotta listen. I gotta check this out because it kept popping up in my feed and all those things on YouTube. So I was just like, fuck it, I'll do it. So I watched this video or this single that they put out about. I think they put out about 3 or 4 singles for this new album. And the song and the video that I watched is called Winona, and it's a short. It's literally a short film. It's a fairly long song and video. And it runs about 7 minutes and 39 seconds. And there's a clip of there's a this video is on YouTube, of course. So I watched it last night, and my first reaction was I listened to it on my laptop with some headphones. I have a really good pair of headphones, and I was blown the fuck away when I listened to the song. I was blown the fuck away. It's been a while, like, since that's happened. A lot of the times when I hear a new song or by a band that maybe I've just discovered, or you know, a band that I really love already, and I hear a song, you know, can either tell I can tell usually right away if I'm into it, and sometimes you're you know, a little bit indifferent. It takes, you know, you want to revisit it, and then you have a really good opinion or a different opinion later on, and those kinds of things. But with this experience, watching Winona in this music video, I was just like, this is the fucking shit. This is it right here. This is a band at the height of their power. This is like a culmination of all of their work and all of and just their sheer work ethic, just giving birth to something that's magical. And again, I think the song itself, and aside from the song, which is just absolutely incredible, I think it, you know, and again, I only listened to it once, but I had such an experience around it and such a reaction. At face value, I think it's probably the best song I've ever heard them do as a band. And aside from just the song and the, you know, the compositional elements of it, the rich dynamics of this song, and the the music, just the sheer musicality, the actual music video itself is absolutely stunning. It really is. It's I've always felt that's one of the things of why I have always loved Deafheaven ever since I discovered them. Just this morning I was listening to them. I was listening to the first album of theirs that I got into. I got into them right when their album New Bermuda, had come out, and that was my first album that I bought. I had read about them in this magazine, and I was like, these guys sound really awesome. This music sounds totally up my alley. And then I checked them out. I found this really great concert of them that's really good quality on YouTube, and I was just like, after that experience, I was like, I'm sold. And then the next time I was out, I bought that album on CD, and that was my first album. So I was listening to New Bermuda this morning, and it's a fucking great album. It's a super dark album. But so, you know, I this the the music video aspect of this film is so incredible. And getting back to what I was saying, one of the things that really has always attracted me to Deafheaven is, again, my this all ties in with my love of film and cinema. To me, they have this extreme, like, cinematic quality to their music. It's they have this thing of when they compose their music, it just really creates this atmosphere automatically, and it's very emotive, incredibly emotive, more emotive than most rock bands that I can think of, where it really takes you on this you know, this journey through the senses. It's the only way I can describe it. Just like I feel a good film, like it does the same thing. It strikes the same chord as my experience or experiences with films that I love. It's just got that total immersive thing about it. And so the minute I heard Deafheaven for the first time, I was like, these guys have that soundtrack quality. Very cinematic, very cinematic. And so this music video that they have from Winona is just gorgeous, gorgeous. It's very mysterious. It's very dark. It's it's just so incredibly epic. George, the singer, is actually in this short film, and it's extraordinary. It's one of the best music videos I've ever seen. Too. I'm not a huge fan. I mean, I grew up in the time during the MTV age. So when I was in high school, music videos were a regular part of my youth, and seeing bands and seeing and hearing music. That was a regular. That was how I identified with music, was through. Oh, I saw their music video on MTV. And music videos obviously went away, and all things changed. But now, I think within the last 10 or 15 years, you've bands still make music videos, but and I've seen some music videos that are incredible. But I feel like now, with this high quality video that they use, it's got it's more than just selling the song. Because back in the day with MTV, it was about, it's still about selling product, but back then it was more, when artists made music videos, I think it's safe to say it was pretty much just about selling that song, selling the product, churning out something that looks good or is kind of sexy or has some kind of appeal, and hopefully you'll like the song. But with this video and other videos I've seen, but especially with this video for Winona, it's literally like watching a film. Like, it is not, it goes beyond the experience of, well, they're just selling a product. Like, this is a movie. This is a movie I want to watch and I want to see and I want to experience. Again, it's really, really short. There's no dialogue, obviously, but the song, it's so powerful and so rich. And it is all about world building. And I just think that this music video is got to be the best music video I've seen in years. Like, this is like high art, and it's just gorgeous, and it's mysterious. You It's ambiguous, it's really dark, but it's beautiful and gorgeous. Another thing that Deafheaven does perfectly is kind of this juxtaposition with like light and dark. And it completely captures the video aspect of this song, Winona. The video aspect completely captures the vibe in every way. And it's again next level. And I think that this song is probably my favorite song right now from Deafheaven that I've ever heard. And I've heard little snippets of the album, a little bit, but I'm trying to stay away from it. And I've checked out a couple of reviews for it, and people are saying that this is an incredible album, just an amazing experience. So if this is an indication, if this experience around Winona is an indication of what this album is like, I'm just like, wow, this could be the greatest album easily this year, and maybe in the last couple of years. It's incredible. So, and when I bring up the analogy, comparing things to, you know, my favorite band of all time, Alltecker, even though they are an electronic band, I consider them to be my favorite band. I'm at a point of almost saying I think Deafheaven, when it comes to rock bands or metal, I think they're the best band around right now. I just feel like, and I'm really close to just saying that they're the best thing right now because of they have a sense of urgency. They take risks. They're incredibly creative. They don't want to ever put themselves in a box, but yet they retain their style and their sound, and plus, black metal as a genre for extreme music is my favorite. They take that style and capture it perfectly, but yet put a completely new spin on it. So, yeah, incredible. So I just wanted to make a video about a video. Thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.